Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and today we have a very exciting video because we are talking about my current 5 favorite houseplants. It's always so hard for me to narrow it down to just 5, but my top 5 definitely do change from time to time, week to week, day to day. So I'm really excited to show you just some exciting plants in my collection right now. If you're not already, make sure that you subscribe. I would love to have you around here more often, and let's get into it. The first plant that I don't even know what this is called. The first plant we're going to talk about is my Hoya caudata, which is so fun and cool. This was actually gifted to me from one of my friends online, Teresa. Shout out to Teresa. It's in this really beautiful pot and saucer combination from Bud & Bowl, who hasn't been active in a while. I don't know if they will ever come back, but that's where this is from. Anyway, it is exhibiting some beautiful new growth, which is just the most exciting thing ever. This is one of my Hoya that just kind of was stagnant for a while, and it was a fresh prop that I got from a friend, like I said, but it just wasn't growing. And I was like, what is going on? So many of my Hoya were just not growing, and I had them under my kitchen sink. Not under my kitchen sink, next to my kitchen sink under a south window, but that south window was covered by a tree most of the year. So, it didn't get a ton of direct light. And ever since I set up my little Hoya shelf over in this corner, all of my Hoya, honestly, have seriously taken off. It's been so cool to see all of the changes and all of the growth that's happening. I've actually noticed them starting to get wrinkly because they're thirsty. I think that they were kind of just in dormancy over there because they just weren't getting enough light to actually do anything. Sidestepping into a completely different genus, I am showing off my Anthurium crystallinum. This plant and I have been through it. I have had this plant since I lived in my apartment in Tucson. It was one of my first Anthurium, and I actually got it as a freebie with a different order. And you guys, it has just exponentially grown. I am so impressed by this plant. I think that just the way that the entire plant looks right now is why it's on this list, because I love the big foliage, of course, but I also just love the way that it looks in this pot. I recently featured this pot on one of my short form videos on Instagram. This is by Bruning Pottery out of Washington, and they actually make a lot of pottery at a time for nurseries and stuff. So I got this from a local nursery, but it's just the most perfect pot. I love it so much. I've heard from a few people that Anthurium kind of prefer a deeper pot, and that was new information to me when I heard it. So next time I repot it, I will be giving it a bit of a deeper pot. But as of right now, it's been totally fine and happy in it, which I'm just really excited about. In the last year or year and a half-ish, it has just put out significantly more growth and significantly more beautiful and happier, more substantial growth. And I really would attribute that to my IKEA greenhouse cabinet and this glazed ceramic pot. It just holds on to moisture for so much longer. I really haven't had to worry about it at all. It's one of the hardier of the velvety Anthurium. If you take care of Anthurium, you know that there's 2 varieties or 2 sections. I like to say you have the velvety ones and then you have more of the rubbery ones. And the rubbery ones do tend to be a lot easier. They tend to hold on to moisture a bit better. These ones are, a little bit more diva. But honestly, I really love them because just you cannot beat the veining and this beautiful copper color of the new leaf. I love Anthurium leaves when they're coming in. They start off so tiny and just the most vibrant color. And as they grow, the color becomes a little bit more diluted, and then it eventually does turn green. But it takes a while for it to totally harden off. So you have this really beautiful copper, burgundy, whatever the plant is specifically doing. You have that color for quite a while to enjoy. So I think that this leaf is probably full grown, but the last leaf that it put out was this one. So you can see there is a significant change, the difference in the size here. This one is a lot bigger. So that's exciting. You love to see your plants continuously getting bigger and bigger leaves. It just means that they're getting exactly what they need. And honestly, as a plant parent, that is the best thing that I could see, is that they're just so happy. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you're not familiar with Squarespace, they are the all-in-one platform to share and develop your online brand. I really love using Squarespace for my 2 websites. I have the Potted Together website that I built, and then my personal De La Plants website as well, which is under construction, but I'm using Squarespace to build it out, and it's been so easy to do on my own. If I have questions at all, their customer service team is incredible, and they also have a ton of articles with basically every question that you would ask the customer service anyway. You can start your website from scratch, or you can start from their templates. I really love using kind of like a fusion of both, like picking a template and then customizing it. I just think that's a really fun way to get a website that feels professional but also still feels very much like you. I have used the blogging feature. On the Potted Together website, we have an entire merch store, which if you've never seen that before, we have some really cute merch over there. But yeah, Squarespace is just a really well-rounded way to get your brand out there and just share with people what it is that you do. So if you are interested in checking out Squarespace, I will have a link in the description box below, and you can use the code Becca De La Plants to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. All right, you want to talk about it plants? This is the one. So this is a Ficus shivereana, and I have to admit, I have a soft spot for ficus. In fact, my first houseplant was actually the burgundy rubber tree. It's still in my house today. Well, it's actually on my patio, but it's been so cool to see it transform and grow. And I just think it's so fun to know that you're taking care of like something that is literally a tree in nature, and it's in your little cute pot that you got at Home Goods, you know? The rubber tree has like a bunch of different versions, but this is one of them. It has really beautiful, like speckled, variegated leaves. I was actually shopping, and well, you guys saw the video when I went to, where did I go? Louisville. And the nursery there had really, really stunning shivereanas, and they were even more speckled than this one, which was it's just so cool. And also something that I love about this plant is it was pretty expensive not that long ago. Like really a year or 2 ago, it was like over $100 for a plant like half the size of this. And I got this for, I want to say like $20 or $30 from a local nursery. And every time I've seen it out since then, it has been in that range. And they're not huge, but they're about this size. And so, yeah, it's just cool to know that the plant went from being like brand new to super accessible really quickly. I feel like in recent years, the houseplant world has sort of closed that gap of amount of time that a plant is discovered, quote unquote, and then to the point where it is accessible. Because for a very, very long time, plants like the Monstera albo, what else? The Thai constellation, those 2 specifically were very, very hard sought after without them being accessible like at all. And now people can find at least a Thai constellation at their local garden centers for like $30. I saw some people in my local Facebook group finding it at a Walmart, which is just so crazy to think about. So I am very happy that plants have slowly become more accessible through means of like tissue culture and just people sharing their cuttings and I don't know, like breaking down the capitalist cycle and just giving plants away, sought after plants for free. I think that's a really cool thing. But all of that aside, the Ficus shivereana has been a really wonderful addition to my collection. I just think it's so beautiful and structural. And I found this pot at Marshall's, and I think it is so cute. There was also a smaller version, which I am like very heavily considering going back to get. I absolutely do not need it. So that is why I'm like not letting myself. And this pot is giving me a lot of inspiration for my future pottery endeavors because I did sign up, spoiler alert, I did sign up for an open studio slot. So you might be seeing some pottery coming out of me. Not coming out of me, coming from me. With this as the kind of inspo. None of these plants have been in the same genus, which I think is so fun. I love having a big variety in my collection. This one is the Philodendron pallidum. And truly, this plant is such a showstopper. I was shopping with Adam and Nicole when I saw it, and I was like, wait a minute, that's cool. It has the look of a big leaf philodendron, like the mammii, for example, which is one of my favorites. One of my favorite features on houseplants is is like silvery accents, and this plant absolutely has the silver accents on lock. I have it potted in this little short white fluted pot, and I love this pot. This is also one of my favorite pots in my collection. They definitely root out pretty quickly, and I'm sure I'll have to repot it eventually. Obviously, you always have to repot your plants. It's kind of an obvious thing to say, but let's say sooner rather than later. There's some plants that you can keep in a pot for a very long time. We'll see how long this one lasts and see how quickly they end up coming out the bottom. And there's actually 2 plants in this pot. Here's a smaller, like more juvenile. It looks just like an offshoot from the mother plant. She typically sits over here because she is such a showstopper, and I love having her in clear view of when I film. And the last plant on my current top fave list is the Metaphyllum spruceanum, which you cannot even see the whole plant right now because it is so tall. This plant is so cool, and it honestly is one of the ones that I get the most questions about. Like, people, when they see this in my collection, either if it's like in the background, it was like sitting over here for a long time, and I always would get questions about what it was. It kind of has the vibe of the umbrella tree, or just like really big leafy tropicals that you see growing like in Florida. And I think that's why I love it so much. I think a lot of those more like super tropical plants, like a part of the ginger family and stuff like that, we don't typically have those as houseplants, but they are extremely prominent plants in tropical landscapes, and especially in like botanical gardens and things like that. So it feels cool to have it in my home for that reason. It reminds me of botanical gardens and naturey places that I've really loved. And I currently have them, all of the leaves kind of held together with this plant tape. If I didn't do that, the leaves would be much more spread out. It's definitely one of those plants that kind of splays itself out, which is not something that I love in a plant. Oh, look at her. There's a leaf. Just look at how cool that looks. It's so awesome. I absolutely love all of these freaking leaves. Oh my God, they're so pretty. But yeah, I don't love when a plant just kind of like lets it all hang out there. I just find it to look kind of messy. So I do keep it strapped up with some plant tape, and it doesn't negatively affect the plant in any way. It just keeps it more organized so that we're not constantly hitting the plant as we're walking past it, and it's not in the way. But it's been an extremely, extremely easy plant in my collection. I have honestly never fretted about it, like ever. The Metaphyllum are just kind of really cool, and I'm very interested in seeing more about the genus and to see if there's any other ones I can bring into my collection, because they're just really hardy and very fun to grow. All right, my friends, thank you so much for joining me for this video, hanging out with me while we chat about my current favorite plants. I love talking about my plants. I could talk about them forever. Seriously, it's so much fun. I hope that you enjoyed and that this inspires you to take a look around your collection and see what your top 5 favorite plants might be. All right, make sure that you're subscribed if you're not already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.